podcast. Yeah, I will.
Hot mic, that's right.
Okay. What I'm doing and your statement of initiatives. Okay. All right, let's do it, man. Thank you. That would be a big, that's a $300,000 salary.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So we might just figuring out how to get live here. That's one thing I need to be better at with figuring out, am I actually live? Are we live yet? I don't know.
You have a device you can log in and see what you're on?
Yeah, it's called Restream. This is called we're going through the motions here. Oh, we are officially live. Live from FRI. So this is my official first guinea pig alongside Tim Tharp. What's up, Tim?
It's a pleasure to meet you. I was fortunate to be walking down the hall and seeing you getting ready to kick up, and here we are.
Right as I was like, you know what? I think we're ready to press go.
Okay, do you need to test something? Yeah.
I could be that guy.
That guy.
Yeah. Well, I was intrigued by a couple of things, but one, the yoga shirt. I'm a big yoga fan. My wife's a yoga instructor. She works for a yoga fitness company. What's the yoga connection?
So a year ago, as part of one of several things that happened, I moved down to Key Largo full time, where I've had a home for a number of years that was part time, and I got very involved in yoga. And this is my local studio, and I like to rep my studio because I like supporting local business. And in a weird small world story, the owner of the yoga studio in Key Largo is married to a former Marine that I worked with when he was the installation commander at Camp Pendleton in California in my second career. So very weird small world stuff. We knew each other from 10 years ago.
And you walked by as if we'd like knew each other for 10 years too. So here we are.
So like quick background, I started my fire service world. I'm fourth generation. I have two brothers that are still, well, one's retired, the other's still in the job. He works in DC on the fireboat. In fact, he just finished their first ever 14-week intensive tech rescue program. First of its kind program in the country, and he's in special ops and did that. Anyway, I'm just repping from. Props to my brother AJ in DC.
Shout out AJ.
Shout out AJ. Anyway, I got involved as a volunteer in 1986 in Clinton, Maryland, in Prince George's County, where I grew up. A year later, I was hired. I did 23 years leading Prince George's County as a battalion chief and paramedic. I absolutely loved that career. I loved the job. I loved being from Prince George's County. I loved working there, and I loved the people, right? And I won't say I really miss fire trucks today, but I do miss what we had in the buildings and on the streets together. So I left that and did 10 years of contract work with the Marine Corps, supporting emergency management, got to go all over the world, see interesting things. And then, you know, COVID came, and I ended up working for the state of Maryland, helping them with the COVID response. And from that, ended up getting a job with the National Guard for a year, and then came June of last year. And in June of last year, I decided I was going to leave that job. I was ready to start my own thing. I figured out I was pretty good at solving problems, and I was getting paid pretty decently to solve other people's problems. And I wanted to solve something that I cared about and had a passion for. So I took 6 months to think about what that was from January to June of last year as I anticipated leaving. And I decided that, you know, my life changed a lot 4 years ago. On September the 6th, 2021, I walked into the Harbor of Grace Rehabilitation Facility for first responders in Havre de Grace, Maryland. And 26 days later, I came out, and everything in my life today is different from that day, right? Everything is different. I've ended up quitting my job. My marriage ended. I got divorced last year. And then I moved 1,000 miles away from my family, all my kids and grandkids and brothers and mom and all that, so that I could do this. And what this is I started a company called the First Responders Resilience Network, and it's based on a simple premise. As I look back over my years of sobriety, I wondered, why did they wait to teach me this until I needed it to save my life? Why didn't they teach me this in the beginning? Because none of the stuff I learned is new or innovative. It's nothing groundbreaking. This is all basic self-care stuff that just isn't really introduced to us in a way that makes sense as new public safety candidates or employees. So I actually came to this conference last year in Dallas, and I've been coming here for decades. I've been, you know, heavily involved or less involved in varying degrees, but I know a lot of people here, and I ask them honestly, hey, if I build this thing, is this something that we need? Do you see this gap that I'm identifying? And would you be interested if I did it? And they said yes. So I took the next 4 months and I went to every national conference I could find. And I listened to, Dr. Sarah Jenke, who, I can't say enough good about. She is at the tip of the spear in helping us do, informed, proper research to get answers about what our problems are. And I feel like some of us out here need to be coming up with the answers to those problems. So I sat and I listened, and I built a table of contents based on the problem set that I gathered from these conferences. And then I started filling those topics up, and I ended up with 6 modules. It's about 8 hours online, self-paced. You have access for an entire year. And the modules break down like this. Unit 1 is the statistics. A lot of people don't realize around 2015, 2016, both police officers and firefighters became more likely to die of suicide than they did in the line of duty. And if you think about the amount of time that we dedicate in training to previous line of duty deaths and trying to learn how not to have those happen again, we dedicate a lot. Where's the time during that same training period to teach people about how to care for themselves? So, like, pretty obvious point. You don't teach somebody to stretch an attack line on their first fire. You teach them in the academy, so when they get there, they've already got the skills. I'm saying we should be doing the same thing with mental health. We should be proactive and less reactive. So unit 1 is the statistics around divorce, suicide, addiction, and other mental health diagnoses. Unit 2 is all about suicide awareness and prevention. Unit 3 is about sleep and the importance of sleep. And Dr. Jenke drove that point home for me last year. Sleep ties to every one of those diagnoses, and it's the most critical factor that we can try to control. Unit 4, we talk about mindfulness. What is it? What does it look like? How does that play out for us day to day? And Unit 5 is really the meat of the course, and that's a set of practical things that people can do for themselves to develop a program of self-care. We teach yoga, Tai Chi, journaling, meditation, breathing exercises, visualization exercises, all with example videos, instructional videos with them. And then in Unit 6, we support peer support. We talk about peer support, the importance of it. And we've had inquiries from organizations that either want to develop a peer support team or have one and they feel like it's not functioning where they want it to, and they've asked for support in doing it. So here I am 1 year later from Dallas.
Going from idea to inception.
And my product was done in February. I hired a firm, I hired a company that does program development. I had an idea about a gap to fill. And then I went to our smartest people to figure out what to talk about. And then I hired professionals to help me build it. It is built to university standards. It can lay into any learning management system. You can buy individual seats. You can buy blocks of seats. You can buy a seat, you can buy a license and have it on your LMS. And you have access for an entire year. And we encourage that not only does the member take the training, but that they take it home and share it with their family members, because family members need to have the same level of awareness. They should know about suicide awareness and prevention and signs to look out for. They should be aware of the negotiation about sleep that has to happen. I want to come home from my 24-hour shift and be able to get 8 hours of solid sleep in a dark, quiet space, so that for the rest of my time off, I can be my best self at home and I don't have to bring work home.
You said the words proactive and reactive, and I feel like it's so easy in the modern day world that we're a little bit more quick to take the painkillers than we are the vitamins. It's a little bit easier. It's just sometimes easier and more convenient. And doing some of the hard work and being proactive it takes a little bit of looking yourself in the mirror. It takes some life decisions. It's not just like a get rich quick crypto scheme. It's like, it's actually just good hard work. How have, ever since you've launched this, how have you overcome that sort of, hey, this is not just you buy the program and all of a sudden you're better. You actually have to consume it and go through it and live it and experience it. How have you addressed that and navigated that dynamic?
That is an insightful and very good question. The conversation to try to explain what it is and how it's different than what else is out there has been an evolving process. And I keep trying to adjust it to try to connect. And so I'm watching you as I'm explaining it. I'm trying to figure out, are you connecting with what I'm saying here or not? And as I get greater connection, I stick with the story. So the example of the hose line is a great one. You don't teach somebody how to stretch an attack line when you pull up to their first fire, right? You do it back here. Why do we wait until they're in crisis to hand them these skills. Give it to them on day one. Maybe it would reduce attrition in recruit school. I project that if there's buy-in for this type of program, that we would see lower attrition through recruit schools. We would see potentially fewer sick calls, fewer injuries, fewer accidents, and every department everywhere has a list of people that have some sort of issue that is preventing them from being on full duty, and they're home being paid. And I'm not saying that they're not legitimate, but not only are they being home being paid, but we're paying overtime to backfill, and it's a strain on everybody. I would venture to say that there's a substantial percentage of those people that are not coming to work that have a mental health component that maybe if we had addressed earlier might be less of a strain for that individual and taxing to the organization. And I say all this because I believe that these things may be true, but me believing something isn't worth a cup of coffee. So I have found a PhD who is under contract doing some postdoctoral work in Nashville right now that he needs to finish up through October. When he leaves that, he is going to join our team, and we are going to set up proper research studies and look at the programs we're producing and follow people through their career to understand whether or not the things that we think may happen actually take place. We don't want to build something to put it in the market for its own sake. It needs to be different. It needs to matter. It needs to be right. And this is an opening to a conversation about how we become more proactive and less reactive from my perspective. You know, I have the conversations and I hear peer support teams tell me we get 2 or 3 days in the recruit academy, and I hear them. But you know, that's a peer support role that's meant to be reactive and ready when it's needed. I see them leaning and being proactive, but have they had the opportunity to build a program? And you know, what do we need? We need a program. We need a training program that specifically addresses it. And so I call it day one, because I think every new public safety employee should have this issued to them on day one of the academy, and they can't leave until they finish it. And you have to go through it, and it issues you a PDF certificate at the end. It's built to university standards by university professors. I ran a pilot. Jefferson County, Wisconsin has a nonprofit that provides peer support, and it's a mixed bag: police, fire, EMS, and dispatch. And all 4 of those disciplines are addressed in this course. Their 35-member team did a pilot for us and gave us feedback, and we made some adjustments based on that. But all in all, I can tell you, and we use it for marketing, the feedback we get from anybody that looks at the pilot is very positive, and they've not seen anything or had anything available like this before. And so to the fire chiefs out there, I understand a couple of things. Spending money on prevention on something like mental health can be a dicey thing when budgets are tight. You're paying money to prevent something that may or may not happen. You know it's going to happen, but is it going to happen a lot? And is that is that an area where you want to take risk versus being reactive and having resources when people need them? I would tell you that we have an opportunity at a very, very accessible price point to see if we can become proactive and to get as far left of boom as possible. You know, the mental health spectrum of a public safety employee is from the day that they walk into our doors to be trained until we put them in their grave. And we are addressing the middle of that really, really well with lots of resources when people need them. Let's look at the rest of the spectrum and start filling those gaps. And I say the beginning is the place, and I say prove me wrong, right?
And earlier you mentioned one of my favorite people in the fire service, Dr. Sarah Jonke. I jokingly call her my fairy godmother. She's been such a great mentor and just friend and colleague to me in so many ways. She gave a presentation early March and at the Illinois Metro Fire Chiefs event, and Chief Dan Muncie was up there. He was talking about AI and smart cities and all this stuff, and it was, you know, very captivating and enlightening in terms of where we're going from all this technology. And then Sarah gets up there and she's like, I'm going to talk about sleep and semen. And she talked about the dynamics of I mean, I didn't know all this, but the truly how sleep has this trickle down effect in terms of like but by not having the proper amount of sleep and how it has this negative impact on everything you do in your life, and in particularly, and also your sperm count, and just in terms of just like men health, overall men health. And it was one of those things. I think the whole room kind of sit there and scratch their head. And they're like, "Oh, wow!" And it kind of phrased it in a way that got people to like sit up straighter in their chair a little bit. But I'm kind of curious in your take, kind of like just like the sleep part in terms of how it's. You hear that phrase of like, "Oh, we can sleep when we're dead." I got a bunch of stuff to do right now. Yeah, but why is it that we overlook sleep, and how is it? How do we need to continue to reframe that mindset that sleep is that damn important?
I can't answer why we don't know more or why we're not paying more attention to it, other than the fact that we just didn't know. I mean, when I went to recruit school, it was fantastic. And at the end, they said, you're probably going to see some difficult stuff. And they slap you on the shoulder and say, good luck. Right. I think we can do better. And I think when it comes to sleep, now that we understand, now that we have a Dr. Sarah Jenke to help us understand, she put together this science to station for the first time last year at the National Fire Academy. What a fantastic conference. I mean, bringing together the minds that want to do the research with the industry leaders to talk about, hey, industry leaders, what do you want to know? Tell us what your problems, the things you're concerned about, so we can start researching them. And the researchers can say, hey, this is stuff we were interested in, and here's the information we have. How can you apply that to your industry? And it was a fantastic exchange, and I'm excited. I can tell you this much: when they announced the one this year in Loveland, Colorado,
You going?
I may have been the very first person to sign. I mean, I was like at my keyboard waiting, and I'm going to attend and interact. And I want to bring also, our idea and our concept there to see how people feel about it.
Well, I'm hopeful going to attend that as well. I mean, don't tempt me with a good time to go to Colorado. But so we gotta wrap up here. I'm excited. This is good guinea pig. I'm watching YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. So we're working out some of the kinks here, Tim. So thank you for being a willful guinea pig on this. Where do you envision what you're working on in the next 5 years, and what are some ways that people could get involved in trying, either if they're a potential collaborator or a potential end user, how do they get connected?
If you give me a couple minutes, I have a very
You,
specific answer for that.
you got 3 minutes.
I named the business a network for a reason. I absolutely believe.
What are some ways that people could get involved? There we go.
I absolutely believe that nobody's going to get anywhere by themselves, and the way that we need to attack this is collaboratively. And so, at every conference I attend, I look for other vendors that are like-minded, and this is a rapidly expanding marketplace. Mental health and public safety is growing so quickly. And someone made a point to me at another conference. I used to know everybody that was in this space, and now there's new people every day, and I can't keep track. We have no clearinghouse to do that. So I do some personal vetting of who are you, why are you in this industry, and are you here to put your hands in our people's pockets, or are you here on a real mission, right, to help us? And the people that, and this is just Tim's barometer, right? But I want like-minded folks that are mission focused and about our people and taking care of them. And those people I will list on my website, because I have one thing that I'm providing right now, and I want to provide more. But I want to network and get you to the right person. If you come to me and want my training and you say, but Tim, I got this other thing, I want to say, I know just who to do that. Go here. There are links on my website, right? So that's first. I want to be one of many working together at a common goal. The second thing is around this idea of the vendors and who's vetting them, right? There's no process right now really for anybody to go through to be vetted as a vendor, so that our membership has the opportunity to really understand who they're dealing with. There's no certification, there's no vetting process, and people show up and they come and go, and we've all seen that happen. But this is around our folks' mental health, and people are literally killing themselves, and I feel like we need to take it seriously. We have no kitchen table for this topic. And in Tim's mind, and I want to be clear that this is my idea only, and although I've said it to these individuals, nobody has said that they think that this is the right thing, but nobody said no. I believe the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation and First Responder Center for Excellence, as a subpart of them, led by Frank Lieb, is focused. I believe FRCE is focused on the topics that are center enough to this that they should be the kitchen table. You know, let's bring the union and the chiefs and the volunteers. We can't have 4 or 5 different sets of answers to our mental health issues in this industry. We should have one set of answers that are all on the table together. And then every organization can go back and market it the way that they want to their people, but the messaging should be the same. You know, the IAFF has a brand and I respect that and I wouldn't want to get in the way of that. But don't we want everybody getting the same message? And so to that end, we need a kitchen table. I propose FRCE be grown into that because they're positioned for it. Second thing, standards. We have to go after the national standards and enhance the requirements for proactive training in the mental health space to get ahead of this and get left of boom. So what do I see? I see cooperation and collaboration in the industry around partnerships. I see developing a kitchen table to give us a common conversation nationally about how we're addressing it. And I see an opportunity to enhance and develop standards that truly address the needs of our folks before they need it and not after they need it.
Tim, a lot to unpack there, and thank you for being the first inaugural guinea pig in the hot mic. Let's talk Wildfire Wednesday, Tech Talk Tuesday, IFC booth. You're right. You got a lot to say, but I appreciate everything you're saying, and the fire service needs to hear it. And I think to the big thing that you mentioned earlier is just being proactive, and not waiting till it gets to that point. So thank you for being a catalyst to being someone that's actually taking a stand and helping other people with a easy consumable program to be proactive on not letting it get to a point where it's too late.
Well, I'm grateful for you and this opportunity, and I look forward to seeing everybody at booth 2468 on the expo floor. Come visit Mallory and myself, and we're happy to talk to you about your department and your needs.
Good deal. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Kevin.
Appreciate it. Finish the live stream.